You're the one who feels irritated the second something becomes popular. Not because you want to be difficult, not because you think you're better than everyone, but because the moment everyone starts loving the same thing, wearing the same thing, saying the same thing, posting the same opinion with the same fake casual caption, something inside you shuts down. You see a trend, and instead of feeling curious, you feel trapped. You hear everyone repeating the same phrase, chasing the same lifestyle, performing the same identity, and your whole nervous system goes, absolutely not. Even when part of you actually likes the thing, you start pulling away from it, quietly, almost stubbornly, because it no longer feels real. It feels contaminated. Like the second the crowd touches it, it stops belonging to you. And that feeling can be hard to explain to other people, because from the outside, it just looks like you're being contrarian, too intense, too serious, too different for no reason. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is much deeper than taste. For some people, fitting in feels safe.
For you, fitting in can feel like disappearing. That's a very different psychology.
And no, it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're secretly arrogant. It doesn't mean you have some dramatic allergic reaction to fun. Although honestly, sometimes it does look like your soul gets hives when everyone suddenly loves the same coffee shop. What it usually means is that somewhere along the way, your brain learned a very specific lesson. If you lose yourself to belong, you pay for it later. Some people learned that in school. Some learned it in their family. Some learned it in friendships where they had to shapeshift just to be accepted. And some learned it so early, they don't even have words for it. They just know that whenever the group starts moving in one direction, they feel this instinct to step back and protect something. Usually their identity, usually their dignity, usually the small, fragile part of themselves that took years to build. Psychology has a few ways of describing this. One is called reactance. Reactance is what happens when your brain senses pressure, even subtle pressure, and immediately pushes the other way. It's the mind's version of folding its arms and saying, oh, now I definitely want. Do it. Even if nobody technically forced you, even if the pressure is invisible. A trend can create that exact feeling, not because it's evil, but because it carries an atmosphere, a pressure, an unspoken command. Wear this, want this, care about this, talk like this. And if your nervous system is sensitive to control, even soft social control can feel invasive. Another piece of this is identity threat. That's when something makes you feel like your core self is being swallowed by outside expectations. Like your personality is being slowly edited by committee. Like the world is handing you a script and expecting you to smile and read your lines. For a lot of people, that's mildly annoying. For someone with wounded independence, it feels unbearable because your identity may not be some cute accessory. It may be the result of surviving environments where being yourself was not fully safe. So now, when the world says, just go along with it, your brain hears something much older. Abandon yourself. Again. And that's why your resistance can feel so intense. This is where the story changes, because what looks like rebellion on the surface is often protection underneath. Your refusal to fit in may actually be a survival mechanism, a brilliant one. You may have developed a sharper radar for emotional dishonesty. You can feel when people are performing. You can sense when belonging has become obedience in nicer clothes. You notice when people are not choosing something because they love it, but because they're scared to be left out. And maybe you've been left out before. Maybe badly. So you know the price of social approval. You know how quickly people will ask you to become smaller, simpler, more digestible, more convenient, more normal. And if you've spent years crawling back from that kind of self-erasure, of course you resist anything that smells like conformity. That's not stupidity. That's pattern recognition. Sometimes it's also ed to high openness, a personality trait connected to curiosity, originality, and independent thinking. People high in openness tend to be less interested in tradition for tradition's sake, less impressed by status rituals, less willing to copy and paste a life just because it's popular. They want meaning, not just membership. And if you're also highly sensitive, you may feel the emotional noise of the crowd more strongly than other people do. What feels normal to them can feel overwhelming to you. What feels fun to them can feel fake to you. What feels harmless to them can feel like a slow spiritual kidnapping. A little dramatic? Yes. Incorrect? Not always. But there is a shadow side to this. A real one. Because when you build your identity around not fitting in, you can become trapped by your own resistance. You stop asking, do I like this? And start asking, do other people like this? And if the answer is yes, you reject it on principle, which means the crowd is still controlling you. Just in reverse. That's the cruel joke. You think you're free because you're refusing the script. But sometimes the script is still running your life. You're just playing the opposite role. And that can get lonely. Very lonely. Because the world rewards social smoothness. It rewards people who know how to blend, how to nod, how to mirror, how to make others comfortable. If you're the person who questions things, pulls away, or refuses to perform normalcy on command, people can misunderstand you fast. They may see you as cold, difficult, unapproachable, judgmental, when really, you might just be tired. Tired of fake enthusiasm. Tired of trends that ask for your personality as the entry fee. Tired of pretending to connect over things that don't move you. And underneath all that, there can be grief. Because maybe you do want connection. Maybe you do want community. Maybe you do want to belong. You just don't want to disappear to get it. That's the painful part no one sees. The people who refuse to fit in are not always trying to be separate. Sometimes they are starving for a place where they don't have to fracture themselves. A place where they can be fully real and still welcomed. And if they haven't found that place yet, their independence can harden into armor. Powerful armor. Beautiful armor. Exhausting armor. In the next time you feel that familiar resistance rise up, try slowing the moment down. Instead of instantly rejecting the thing, ask yourself a better question. Is this actually not me? Or does it just remind me of times I had to betray myself? That distinction matters. Because not everything popular is shallow. Is not everything shared is fake. Sometimes a trend is just a trend. Sometimes a haircut is just a haircut. Sometimes an oat milk latte is not an authoritarian regime. Although I understand your instincts may disagree. Another thing to remember is that authenticity is not the same as opposition. You do not have to reject everything the crowd touches in order to stay real. Realness is quieter than that. It doesn't always announce itself with defiance. Sometimes authenticity sounds like, I genuinely like this, and I don't care who else does. That's freedom. Not automatic rejection. Not automatic compliance. Choice. Calm choice. And if your nervous system struggles with pressure, it helps to create more private space before making decisions. Don't decide who you are in the middle of the crowd. That's where fear gets loud. Step away. Get alone. Let your own voice come back. Then ask, what do I actually think when nobody is watching? What feels alive to me when there is no audience? That question can save you from both conformity and performative nonconformity. It brings you back to center. It also helps to notice where this pattern becomes a wall. If every invitation feels like a threat, if every shared experience feels fake, if every group dynamic makes you defensive, there may be an older wound asking for attention. Not because your independence is bad, but because maybe it became your only safe place. And when independence becomes your only safe place, intimacy starts to feel dangerous. Community starts to feel suspicious. Love starts to feel like control with better branding. That's when healing matters. Not so you can become more obedient. Not so you can finally act normal and enjoy whatever everyone else is doing. But so you can tell the difference between connection and captivity. Between belonging and erasure. Between being influenced and being consumed. You deserve that difference. You deserve relationships where you are not managed. You deserve spaces where your weirdness is not a problem to solve. You deserve to choose things because they delight you, not because they prove something. And maybe that's the deeper truth here. Your refusal to fit in is not a flaw. It's a message. It says, your psyche would rather be alone than false. That's not weakness. That's self-protection with a soul. But as you grow, the goal is not just to protect yourself from the crowd. It's to build a self so solid that the crowd no longer decides who you are. Whether you follow it or resist it, that is a different kind of freedom. A softer one, a stronger one. The kind where you can walk into a room full of expectations and not feel the need to obey them or fight them. You just remain yourself, quietly, completely. And if that's been hard for you, if you've spent years confusing distance with safety or rebellion with identity, you're not alone in that. A lot of us learn to survive by refusing the script. The healing part is learning that we can write our own. If this hits something real in you, you'd want to know what fitting in has cost you. And if you're building a self that no longer needs permission, stay close. There's more to unpack here.